ActionSA is expected to announce the outcomes of its Senate, where the ousting of Kabelo Gwamanda as a Joburg Mayor is imminent. The party president, Herman Mashaba, will lead a briefing later this morning, where there are also likely to be questions around the organization's stance when it comes to working with the ANC. Newzroom Afrika senior politics reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo now joining us in studio. Ziyanda, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Geez, politics, ne?
Right.
Because Herman Mashaba has always been clear, never ever will we work with the ANC. After the elections, he said that even if they called us 300 times, we will never accede. And now this was on the agenda of the Senate.
It was clearly at the top of the agenda of the Senate, and it's, for me, fascinating to see how this government of national unity is still continuing to cascade even now at a local government level. And it's very clear that ActionSA has had to now really reconsider when looking at the numbers. I mean, it's a 270-seat council, but the ANC has 91 seats, the Democratic Alliance 71, and ActionSA has 44, which is more than the 29 seats that the EFF rather has. And just looking at that and strategically looking at plans for the 2026 local government elections, I think the Senate would have had to have considered what would work best for them when looking at the cities of Joburg and Tshwane. So politics, no permanent friends and foes.
But what's the rationale with this one? Because about 2-3 weeks ago, when there were still deliberations around the government of national unity, again, Michael Bowman was clear as well that we will not be part of the government of national unity, and they're clear why that is the case. But why is it different when it comes to a local government?
I think you'd have to look at the fact that at a local government level, that's the cold face of service delivery. I mean, we're yet to hear from Herman Mashaba in terms of the kinds of deliberations that the Senate had at the weekend, but that just off the top of my mind, that's the first thing. The second thing is that ActionSA, because the Democratic Alliance is now part of this government of national unity, is positioning itself to almost fill that gap where the DA was once sitting. So even in Parliament, they've said that they won't join the Progressive Caucus with the EFF, UAT and MK Party, but they also won't join the Government of National Unity. Perhaps here in the city of Johannesburg, the context is completely different because they now also, if they get this position of Speaker, they are now directly also going to be able to prove to their constituents and other citizens that they actually do know how to govern. That's the art of politics, right?
Yep.
To actually attain power and to show that you can use it for the benefit of citizens.
So they're eyeing the Speaker position in the city of Joburg?
That's correct. It would seem that's what the negotiations have been. But we'll wait for confirmation from Herman Mashaba, but that's what we're told at this stage.
What does this mean then for Jamah? What will Hanif Hendricks say? What will Jamah's response to this be? Because Jamah has been clear that since Kabelo Gwamanda has been the mayor of the city, that the city has been stable. The residents would say that's perhaps not the case, including perhaps maybe even the ANC.
There are several dynamics to consider. The first is that in the last 2 weeks or so, there's been mounting pressure to have Kabelo Gwamanda removed from that position. So much so that I think it has forced the ANC now to reconsider its position on Kabelo Gwamanda. Remember that it's the ANC in Johannesburg that gave us Kabelo Gwamanda. But also, you know, at a national level, Hanif Hendricks is a deputy minister now. Perhaps there's another way of renegotiating you know, the way in which this happens. But interestingly as well, you know, Aldrin, is the fact that you would have seen, even with these talks of the government of national unity, there's been tensions between province and national, and perhaps the same is true with the ANC, I should be specific, and perhaps the same is true when it comes to the ANC in Johannesburg and the ANC at a provincial level and even at a national level.
What does this mean for the EFF?
Well, it seems as though that relationship still stands, barring Ekurhuleni, where there are still issues. They've already put, you know, Jongizizwe in that position. But when it comes to the cities of Tshwane and Johannesburg, it would seem that that relationship is different, and the context of these different councils is also very different.
Well, if you've just woken up to news that ActionSA could actually be working with the ANC. This is politics, yeah. A minute in politics is also a lifetime. There's how these things consistently change. Let's quickly